What's going on today, guys? I've been so busy with work and business and also all distractions going on around us nowadays that I didn't even take the time to realize that I just went over 1,000 trips on Turo. And it took me 2 years to accomplish. And when I first started this Turo business, it was something I looked forward to. So I felt like it was a great milestone, something great to achieve. So today I figured I'd make a video sharing some of the things that I learned in these 2 years, in these 1,000 trips. And hopefully you guys can get some value out of this or implement some of these in your business and hopefully get some results out of it. So the first thing I want to touch on is the ability to adapt. Ever since I started this Turo business, it seems like Turo is always rolling out new policies or constantly changing things around in order to be profitable in the near future. So this is something important to keep in mind. And a great example of this is the recent changes they just had a few months ago. Probably the biggest changes I've seen so far on Turo, with the daily mileage going from 100 miles to a 200 miles minimum if your vehicle is a non-deluxe, and also having a set price for how much the guests can be charged for over mileage. What we did was just raise the price a little bit, maybe 10%, 15%, and when we notice it start getting too slow, we'll just drop the price back down. But on the weekends, we like to keep the price a little bit higher. So this was an example of me adapting to the changes, was just simply just raising the price a little bit to make up for those extra miles the guests might drive, and also to make up for the extra 5% that we lost in revenue. Insurance plans changed from 75-25 to 70-30. So for me, it was just something as small as just simply adjusting the prices.
A few moments later.
If you find yourself in a position where you're no longer profitable with these new changes, it's very important to be able to maneuver and adapt accordingly. So another thing that I learned is it's a horrible idea to put your personal car on Turo. I know it sounds good that somebody else is going to be driving your car around, they're going to pay off your car note, but what people fail to realize is that these cars are going to be crashed, scratched up, people are going to abuse them. It's part of the rental business, and you really can't avoid it, especially when you're renting out cheaper cars. And when you're renting out these cheap cars, a lot of people really don't have respect for your car. I mean, it's sad to say it, but I'm the kind of person that I like to keep my car clean, smelling good, everything in order, no scratches. So me personally, I couldn't put my personal car on Turo for somebody else to be riding around in. And it also kind of takes away from that sentimental feeling you get when you're the only one driving a car. If I knew that in the back of my mind, anybody was driving this car with their family, doing whatever, partying, going out, going on trips, I just wouldn't get the same feeling out of my car. So that's the reason I don't put my personal car on Turo. And also, financing a car to let other people pay it off could backfire in a major way. I mean, the car can get totaled at any time, and you could owe the dealership a larger amount than Turo is willing to pay for it, and you could quickly find yourself in a mess. So when it comes to Turo and putting your personal cars on Turo, my philosophy is simple. I purchase the asset, which is gonna be my cheaper rental car, in order to pay for my liability, which is gonna be my personal car that I drive around with my family and that I don't put on Turo. Another thing that I learned on Turo is that cars crash. It's part of any rental business, and it's part of any Turo business. Now, I've only had 10 total loss situations in my 1,000 trips, but I've had countless fender benders, curb ratchets, scratches on the car, and a lot of times I do make a profit on it because I have a relationship with some body shops and they give me excellent prices. So I am able to pocket some of the money. It's really important for you guys to make relationship with shops, both mechanic shops and body shops. And it's important to try to get the best prices possible. Now, why do I stress that cars crash on Turo? It's because I want you guys to be mentally prepared for it. When I first started Turo, and my first couple of cars got crashed, I took it to heart. I took it personally. I was heartbroken. I was hurt. And you know, you don't want to go about this business like that. You're gonna have a lot of sleepless nights. So I want you guys to be prepared mentally for this. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. It could be the guest's fault. It could be a third party fault. It's all the same. Your insurance with Turo is gonna cover it. So no need to go off on the guests. No need to get angry at them. Just, you know, assess the damage. Have a systematic approach whenever accidents happen, and just take your emotions out of it. It makes for a smoother business. It makes for a smoother relationship with the customers. If you can't stand to see it get crashed or get into an accident, just don't put it on the platform. Don't put it on Turo. Another important thing is to not quit your job. So many times people ask me about Turo business or ask me about other businesses that I'm involved in, and they're anticipating to quit their job as soon as. Before I started doing Turo, there was another Turo host that I used to look up to, and I always used to get information off him, and he had between 10 to 15 vehicles, but he also had a job at AT&T. And I used to look up to him because I know he was making decent money at AT&T, and with his fleet of Turo cars, I know he was also making decent money. And I used to admire how his positioning was, just being able to keep reinvesting the Turo money into getting more and more cars. It's like every time I saw him, his fleet would get larger and larger. And I knew that his 9-to-5 job was paying for his expenses, and that his Turo money was just being used to reinvest the profit into more inventory. So I promised myself that I would do the same thing when I got in Turo, that I wouldn't touch that money. I would keep reinvesting the money, and I would only take profits at a certain time when it made sense to do so in the business. All my profit that I get from Turo is being reinvested into getting more cars, or you see my shop, I purchased lifts, equipment. I just bought a tire machine a couple months ago. I'm not out here blowing the money or living off it. When this worker finally quit his job to go full-time Turo, I remember getting that feeling in my heart, like it's almost like I quit my 9-to-5 job. It's almost like he just lost his whole strategic approach to the business, and now instead of reinvesting all his extra Turo money, he would now be living off that to take care of his family and to pay his bills and whatever he had left to invest into his business. So essentially he lost his strategic stance when he quit his 9-to-5 job. I feel like when you start a new business, especially in the first couple years, it's really important not to put the stress and the pressure of your personal finances onto that business. You'll usually make it a lot further if you can just keep reinvesting the profit. Your business will usually shoot up at an exponential rate if you can do this. I think this is very important, not only for a Turo business, but any business you're getting into. I see a lot of people make this mistake, and I definitely learned off that mistake. And my approach in my business is just to keep reinvesting. And you're gonna get to a certain point after continuously reinvesting that you are able to walk away from that 9-to-5 job. So another important thing, if you're gonna be in Turo long term and you're gonna plan on having more than 5 cars in your inventory, then I feel like it's almost a necessity to get a dealer's license. Now there's so many advantages to dealer's license and being mixed with a Turo business. And in the state of Georgia, as an individual, they limit how many cars you can sell a year. So I believe you can't sell more than 2 cars, meaning that if you had 4 cars in your inventory and for whatever reason you had to liquidate 2 of them, then you would be maxed out to 2 cars only. You wouldn't be able to sell no more cars for the entire year. And also, part of this Turo business is, most of it is how you purchase the vehicles. The profit is made when you purchase the vehicle. So you have to be getting these vehicles at a cheap enough price that they're not depreciating when your guest is possibly driving 200 miles a day. So how do you get vehicles at a cheaper price? A lot of times when you buy at the dealer's auction, you're actually getting the wholesale price on the vehicle. So it just leaves a little more meat on the bone for you as a Turo host. And there's a lot more advantages to this because it makes liquidation very easy. And as a dealer, not only am I easily able to sell cars that I'm trying to retire off my Turo fleet, but I can also do things like do buyer, payer, finance deals. I can lease my vehicles out. And I've also been doing some rentals on the side outside of Turo. So it just helps me diversify a lot more. But also another alternative to getting licensed yourself is partnering up with a dealer. If you're planning on being in this long term, it definitely makes sense to add this into your business, a dealer's license. And a lot of times, depending on what state you're in, it's very simple to get. You really don't even need a whole shop location. A lot of times they just require you to have a small office space, which is zoned for a dealer or auto broker. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were some states out there that actually let you run an auto broker license out of your home. And another thing that changed drastically within the last couple months, like I mentioned earlier, Turo rolled out a couple of changes. With these new changes, they pretty much killed the middle game. Now, what do I mean by middle game? I mean, the cars right there in that $20,000, $30,000 range, you know, your luxury cars, it's really hard to make a profit on those vehicles now. And allow me to explain. Now, I do cheaper cars. The most expensive car I have on Turo is $11,000. Most of my cars are around the $5,000, $6,000 range. And, you know, the 200 mile per day wasn't a major hit for me, even though I'd rather people not drive my car 200 miles a day, but I could still make a profit doing that. But for people who are spending $20,000, $30,000, if the vehicle is a non-deluxe vehicle, now at that price, you really can't afford to have somebody driving 200 miles a day, only because the vehicle is most likely depreciating faster than whatever you're making on Turo. So it's important to know how to calculate your numbers. And if you're gonna get a higher price car, then make sure it is considered a deluxe vehicle according to Turo standards. And the advantage of having a deluxe vehicle is you can set that 100 miles per day limit or a little bit lower, 75 miles per day. And it just allows the guests to be able to have to pay for extra mileage at a way better rate. All right, guys, so I hope you guys were able to get some value out of this video today. This is not a right or wrong answer kind of situation. This is a business, and there's lots of creative ways to be profitable in any kind of business. And all I'm sharing with you guys is my experience and what works for me. Now, somebody else could be in another situation where they're financing vehicles, which I see it all the time. I see hosts out there that are financing vehicles and doing all these things that I don't know how they're able to pull it off and be profitable, but clearly they're still profitable because they're still doing it. So that just goes to show you that somebody else, another host, could be doing really well on the platform, and they could disagree with some of the things I'm saying because they might live in a different area or have a different kind of car or a different price range, a different clientele range. There's a lot of different factors, but I'm just sharing my experience, like I said, what works for me, and hopefully you guys can get something out of that. And as always, guys, if you guys got any kind of value out of this video, or you just want to support my channel, I would definitely appreciate if you guys can give this video a like. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so right below. Hit the subscription button, and also click on that notification bell so YouTube can alert you every time I post a new video. I am posting new videos weekly, so feel free to do that. And other than that, I appreciate you guys sharing your time with me today, and I will see you guys in the next video.